Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week. This is the Monday Mashup, the flagship show on the Upper Tier, where we bring people on. But tonight I'm bringing the day on. Darren, how are we, Darren?
Well, good, pal. How are you?
Good, not too bad at all. Well, this is the show where we review all the Premier League action from the weekend. Not that there's a huge list, but we'll review it anyway. And also we look at some of the hot topics arising from the Premier League over the weekend. Some interesting ones come up this weekend.
Quite a few of them.
Let's start off with the results first. Leeds 1, Arsenal 4. Our friend Bielsa in serious trouble.
He's getting closer to the door, isn't he? Really, really is. Like, defensively, they're so poor. Like, it's Sunday League stuff, isn't it?
I don't think I've seen any other team as bad in terms of the difference between defense and attack.
Yeah.
Like
it's like because at times, like when they're going forward, they have the ability to look like a really good football team, and they do things quickly, and there's a nice touch and stuff like that about them. But defensively, I mean, they're so poor, aren't they? They really are. Now, we've talked about it for a while about how kind of soft the spine of the team is, and they're missing Calvin Phillips, who arguably their best player, and he plays down that middle the spine of the team. Do you know what I mean? But the two centre backs, like it's very, very poor.
Has he any leeway insofar as, I mean, he was missing Bamford for about 6-7 weeks. He's missing Calvin Phillips. He's had a number of other injuries as well. And now he's after getting smacked with this COVID Omicron breakout. The other day, he had to field a 15-year-old on the bench. Do we have any sympathy for him, or do we think it would be more of the same, even if you had a full squad? I mean, the back four is pretty much the back four, isn't it, anyway?
Yeah, I think week to week, like, who's going to play in the back four, don't you? And, I mean, most weeks he's had almost full strength in the back four.
Yeah,
the keeper has
I feel sorry for the keeper, Gio. The keeper's a decent lad.
He's not bad at all, in fairness to the young fella, I think anyone playing behind Liam Cooper is going to find life difficult.
Yeah.
He's very, very limited as a centre-back goes. You've got the boy, Llorente, again. And they paid a few quid for that boy, Llorente,
Yeah.
Like, I think he was supposedly the answer to their problems at centre back, and I don't know whether he posed more questions than answers at this stage.
Yeah, they have spent a bit of money between Llorente, between Dan James, and also they tied down Jack Harrison, who was previously on loan from City. So they have spent money. Now, it's not massive money, but they have spent money.
Yeah.
But it's looking ominous if they don't turn things around in the next few weeks, isn't it? I think January will tell the tale. Do you?
I think we might see the change before January, if I'm honest.
Really?
I think so. And I think the issue is the longer you leave it, the more difficult, you're going to find to get out of this hole,
Yeah, I think if you've decided you're going to make a change, you have to give someone some opportunity in January to bring a few players in, potentially on loan, I would imagine.
Yeah, maybe a couple of loan signings, exactly. Possibly even players that, have worked under the manager previously, whoever you bring in and stuff like that. You see that quite a lot. Somebody comes in, they bring a couple of lads with them, and guys that they've played under, guys who have played under them and stuff like that, that they can trust and stuff like that. But I mean, we talked about it already. Who's legitimately on the cards here for them? If they do decide to make the change. I know we talked about it might be a job ready made for our friend Frank up at Chelsea, but
Frank Lampard, yeah,
might be, but it's Leeds is a sleeping giant. It's a big football club.
I had a laugh the other night when I was listening to one of the phone-in shows, and there was a Leeds fan on it, and one of the guys on the phone-in show, one of the hosts, he tried to trigger him, and he says, "But you could get Neil Warnock in." And he nearly went perplexing on the phone call. You know what I mean? But difficult times for Leeds ahead. But looks at things, and
do we mention the name?
Go on.
Big Sam.
No, that ship sailed during the West Brom project, didn't it? That ain't gonna ever happen again.
I don't know.
He did himself dirty in that West Brom project. There's no doubt about it. They went down, and I know they were saying, "Oh, well, it's the first time that it kind of happened and stuff like that." But the talk afterwards and the way he threw the club and the players and everything under the bus and all, he didn't do himself any favors there for any future recovery teams, I'd imagine.
He didn't, but don't forget, he's got a serious track record of keeping teams in the league.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be looking to Sam Allardyce, put it that way. Definitely not.
But I mean, from a stop, I don't think he's your long-term answer, you know?
He wouldn't be my short-term.
If you're Leeds and all you're thinking about is, how do I stay in this league? There's worse options out there.
Yeah, but there's also better ones. Let's be honest here.
We shall wait and see.
Absolutely. Newcastle 0, Man City 4. Man City on the rampage, although at 1-0 they were kind of lucky. We'll get into some refereeing decisions later on in the show, but that was a penalty, wasn't it? 100%.
I didn't think it was.
Really? I thought it was a stonewall penalty.
Genuinely, hand on heart, I didn't think it was a penalty. Now, it may just be goalkeepers' union, but I think when Cancelo comes across and takes the ball,
the ball's away from him then.
Takes the balls away. As he takes the ball away from the action,
Yeah.
Ederson is already committed to coming out.
Yeah.
And you can see there's an attempt to try and stop himself, but he's already sliding. So it's momentum that carries him into the player. But the Newcastle player is not even near the ball. Like, he doesn't have the ball. But you know what I mean?
But that doesn't matter. If you're standing in the box and you punch a player in the face and he's not near the ball.
Yeah, that's kind of different though, punching a bloke in the face or making a move and trying to stop your move and momentum carrying you forward. Do you know what I mean?
But what happens if you fly out to tackle a player in the box and you try and stop your momentum and you break his leg?
What do you mean if you try and stop your momentum?
Well, if you try and stop your momentum, but you still, because of your momentum, you're trying to stop.
What's breaking his leg got to do with it though?
Well, you know what I mean. Like take one extreme to the other. Like, I mean, you can't just turn around and go, well, because Ederson showed that he tried to slow himself up because the ball was gone, but he still tore your man clean out of it. Like, it's
very visible and clear and obvious that he pulls out, and it's his momentum that carries him into Fraser. You know what I mean? But personally speaking, I didn't think it was a pen.
I don't know. You're getting into a fairly grey area there if you think momentum doesn't count.
No, I mean, listen, there is a case to say he's lost control of himself.
100%.
But I still didn't think it, you know, and listen, I'm in the very small minority that thinks it wasn't a pen. You know, but it wasn't for me. I just thought, no, I said that's...
I don't know. I think if we get into the area of momentum, we're in trouble then, isn't it? I mean, we'll obviously talk later about Kane and Robbo as well.
Fraser also sees it coming and, like, you know, waits for the contact and everything, and you're like...
That's coaching.
No, that's...
Man, come on. Bruno Fernandes has made a career of this. Would you stop? Come on, what do you mean? He sees it coming.
Career of it.
Yeah, he's made a career of seeing penalties coming and hitting the deck. What are you talking about?
Absolute dribble.
Well, Harry Kane's tackle yesterday, and I know we're going to get into it later, but Harry Kane's tackle, was that momentum?
No, yeah. Absolutely
100% not. It was momentum. He flew into the tackle.
No, it's studs. He's got his studs up.
Okay. So Robbo's tackle afterwards, like, was it his momentum of trying to win the ball, wrapped his leg around your man and put him down?
No, that was stupidity. That's completely
different. But isn't momentum a very grey area?
About that. You know, Ederson doesn't kick him. His knee makes contact with him as he slides out. Like, it's not a tackle. Do you know what I mean? That's my point. He doesn't tackle the way Kane does or the way Robertson does.
Yeah.
It's completely different. Well, Robertson isn't even like tackle. He just decides he's gonna fucking kick the bloke, you know, and absolutely lambaste him. Like,
but it's the momentum of his leg, isn't it? Is it not the momentum of his leg? No, when he swings it.
No. Wow, my God.
Anyway, Man City 4-0. Eddie Howe.
I actually got bored watching it.
Really? It was very comfortable, wasn't it?
I watched it and I was like, Jesus. It just looked like, you know, they were playing the FA Cup against some non-league team, and he just rattled the ball around at will, the way he wanted to, and you just thought, Jesus, they were good without being good. The scoreline probably flattered them a little bit, but the keeper made a couple of good saves as well and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've spoken the title race about these teams operating at a level, haven't we? But Man City, I think, are operating now at a different level, even to Chelsea and Liverpool, aren't they? It's scary.
They look less susceptible to those bad games, don't they?
Yeah.
It's scary to think, if they brought somebody in January as a striker, that's good night and close the curtains on your way out, lads.
What you thinking at the moment? Are you looking at the champions elect?
I think so.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to draw them back in. I know Liverpool are within 3 points of them and Chelsea are within 6, but you're asking for Liverpool and Chelsea to go the rest of the season nearly perfect, and for
your problem is it's not necessarily how many they're clear; it's the ability they have to go and win. 18 out of 20 games.
Yeah, game after game. Yeah,
I don't see them going on a long losing streak.
Yeah.
I just don't think they have it in them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wolves nil, Chelsea nil.
Yeah, Chelsea are really hit the skids here, hasn't he?
Any sympathy for Tuchel? I mean, it's like he asked for a postponement. Other teams have been getting a postponement. There's no doubt he's missing a clatter of players. I know he has quite a strong squad. You would have thought yesterday the team they put out yesterday would be strong enough and competitive enough against Wolves. It's not like they fielded a team of under 18s or anything like that.
They certainly didn't know.
One of the points that I picked up on yesterday, and I thought it was a valid point, through this whole COVID stuff and all, we're concerned about player welfare. But where does player welfare cross the line if a guy like Kovacic, who's only back off a bad injury, has to be thrust into a game like that and be made play because of numbers?
I don't know if he made him play, as in he had other options there. He had Barkley. Could have brought Barkley on. Chose not to. So that's also down to the manager, and what he has. Listen, I understand. And he sent a message with what he did with the bench. I mean, if you're telling me Chelsea couldn't have fielded more players on that bench, he didn't want to field more players. He was sending the message to the FA. He was saying, listen, we're down to our bones here. Now, Chelsea's bones and anyone else's bones are completely different. We know how big a squad they have. We know how big of a, even their youth system is. So, I mean, he could have called up a couple of players there. Absolutely no problem to them, but he was kind of cutting off his nose to spite his face a little bit, saying, we've only got 6 subs available and, it's the FA's fault and blah, blah, blah. And listen, I completely get it. And we spoke about it before on the COVID conversation, I think there's got to be a number where we get to, if every team in the league names a 30-man squad, and if you've, 10 of those missing, your game gets a plug. And that's just, so it's fair across the board.
Yeah, I was listening to the FA today, and we'll get into it later. They want to push ahead with they've decided to push ahead with the fixtures and the festive period and stuff like that. And they've also released some guidelines in the region of, like, if you've got 13 outfield players, then it goes ahead, basically. You know what I mean? So that'll be an interesting conundrum now for the next round of fixtures, when you have the kind of like the Villas and the Burnleys and the Norwiches and all this, and they're going to have to pony up, aren't they?
Well, it's going to hit certain clubs harder than it's going to hit other clubs, because some clubs have massive squads. You look at Chelsea, you look at maybe not City. I think the City squad has a lot of quality in it, but maybe doesn't have the depth at times.
But they're also robust. They haven't been hit with the virus badly yet.
No, not yet. Pep is obviously doing a good job of keeping out of nightclubs, I think, United have a big enough squad. I think 13 players shouldn't be a big issue for them, especially when, quite regularly we would draw upon youth squad players and stuff like that, Look at the team we fielded against young boys in the Champions League a couple of weeks ago. There was relative unknowns all over there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It was so bad Phil Jones got on the bench.
It's not necessarily the team you want to be fielding though in the Premier League, is it?
Of course it's not, but and there you go. Like, if the rules are the same for everybody, then that's the way it's gonna go. You know what I mean? Now I know there's a lot of people saying at the minute the rules aren't the same for everybody. I think you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. As the FA at the minute, you put games on, people want to see it. You think you're doing the right thing. You pull the plug on games. You've got people giving out about the Villa Burnley game because of the late nature of that postponement and stuff like that. And you're just onto a loser all the time, aren't you? Really?
I think it's the lack of confidence in the circuit break, because I think what they're thinking is it'll only kick it down the line into January. What they're, we've seen it already. I mean, we've experienced it here in Ireland. You go on lockdown for 3 months, you open back up, and within a month, case numbers are through the roof again. So I don't know whether circuit breaks. I think they're going to have to figure out a way, like us all, of living with this Omicron and living with COVID and figuring out what we do and how to stay safe. And we just have to kind of get on with life now, don't we? Really, realistically, at this stage,
Absolutely.
Great game finishing out the weekend for the neutral. Spurs 2, Liverpool 2. Sure, as a neutral, you enjoyed it.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't move off the couch, I have to tell you. I watched the 2 games back to back. The City game was a hard watch, not because City's football wasn't great or anything like that. It was just Newcastle were so bad, and the gulf between the two teams. But my God, the Liverpool Spurs game was super game football. It had everything in it. It had red cards. It didn't have red cards. It had goals. It was, you had a couple of managers losing their head. Like it was great. Really, as a neutral, I thoroughly enjoyed it, I have to say.
Yeah, it was weird for me watching it because I looked at the first half, and I've often spoken about Liverpool's pattern of play and how times it's very hit and hope and not very purposeful. And I felt that yesterday a bit first half. And I thought we were very lucky going in at halftime, I think, because I think Spurs could have easily had a decent lead. They had a number of really, really good chances that on another day they were put away.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, to be honest, they created the real gilt-edged chances, didn't they? They could have been 2 or 3 up at halftime, and it may have been game over at that stage.
Yeah.
The save, obviously, Edison from Dele Alli is a serious save. I think he's watching the ball come across, and he knows Ali's coming onto it as a right footer. And he's taking the chance that he's going to go because he moves super, super early. But that's what he's paid for, and that's what good players do. They see what's going to happen before it happens, and it was an unbelievable save. To get fingertips and get it around the post there.
Yeah. What was your making of the refereeing yesterday in the game? It was poor, wasn't it?
It was poor, wasn't it? Yeah, it was very, very poor. I have to say now, it's 2 reds, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
2 reds.
I also thought the Jota one was a stonewall penalty. I really do. I think your man's barged into him, put him over as he's about to pull the trigger. And what happened 2 minutes later, if you look at it 2 or 3 minutes later, a ball is played out onto the wing, and you get the exact same foul practically with Mane, and he whistles for a foul. So how can you whistle for a foul like that, and then in the box you don't whistle for a foul? Why is it different?
I think there's got to be a little more in the box, isn't there, for your penalty rather than a free kick which is outside the box? I think there is. I think that's kind of an unwritten rule, isn't there?
Yeah, but I mean the fact that VAR looked at it and they didn't even ask the ref to go and review it, and then they didn't ask the ref either to go and review the Kane one.
Here's the problem on the VAR and the review. You're asking, is it a clear and obvious error? So I think the FA have kind of tied themselves up a little bit there in what they can do with it, and you know what I mean? Because if somebody doesn't judge it as an absolute clear and obvious error, if there's, if it's objective and somebody looks at that and goes, maybe not, is it clear and obvious? It's not really clear and obvious if there's a 50-50, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the referee turned around yesterday in the Jota one, and he turned around and he said that he felt that Jota had pulled up to draw the barge. And I was thinking, there's nowhere in the rules that says you can't do that. But if your man plows into the back of you, he plows into the back of you. No,
but he's basically telling he's playing for it, and again, like, referees are watching for stuff like that, and I do think there's an element where you've got to go, all right, listen, a penalty's a penalty and a foul's a foul, but when you're watching guys who are, being overly clever, let's say, to try and win penalties, That's where you're gonna piss on a ref's cornflakes slightly, aren't you?
Yeah, but I think there's a difference in intentionally going over and drawing, you know what I mean, and play acting to get a penalty. That's very different than if you're about to pull the trigger. I mean, he was honestly about to pull the trigger with his left foot on the ball, and your man just barged him onto the ground. I mean, it's not like, I know he's saying he pulled up a bit. I don't think he pulled up. I think what he did is he changed his body position to let fly with the left foot, and the next thing he was on his backside.
Yeah, I don't think I'd agree with you, if I'm honest.
No,
I don't. I would have thought it was very soft had he got it.
Yeah, I had a look at it a few times today now, and I still came out with the same conclusion that it was a penalty. And not because I'm a Liverpool fan, because the Robbo one was a clear red. I thought the Robbo one was a clear red, that there was no discussion about it. So it's not like...
Well, let's just word it slightly different, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
If that's down the other end of the pitch and it's Konate on Kane, are you a bit pissed off if he gives it?
I think it's given.
That's a yeah.
No, but I think it's given.
Why?
If Konate plows into the back of Kane in the box, is the penalty given?
Well, if it's the exact same contact,
if that's the exact same one, and it's down the other end, and it's Kane. Hang on, but now think about the Kane foul on Robbo, and it's Kane in the box, and Konate plows into the back of him like that and puts him on his ass. Are you telling me that ref ain't going to give that penalty? 100% he's going to give it. 100%.
I don't think so.
So then why didn't he give the red for Kane for the tackle on Robbo and review it?
I don't know. I can't answer it. You know, he should have.
Well, it's glaringly obvious why, isn't it?
No.
Is it not glaringly obvious why? Because it's Harry Kane. Let's not mess around here. Let's call a spade here.
I don't believe it.
No?
Not even a little bit, like.
Okay. So why didn't VAR call for the ref to review it? And you can't tell me that one wasn't clear and obvious, because Robbo went up into the air like a ballerina.
That's my point. Like, I don't know. I can't give you an answer because, you know, for me it's a red. It's stonewall red. There's no like if buts and ands about it.
Yeah.
You know, the two boys should both walk. For my money, I have to say. You know, one's a really badly judged, you know, lunge, which endangers, you know, Robertson. You know, it's a horrible tackle. And then
one's a petulant frustration kick out.
Frustrated and
kick out.
You know, and just lashes out with a guy, and you're just thinking, Jesus, you know, it's strange for a guy who'd been on the end of something like that to then, you know, turn around and be like, well, here, fuck this. Like, you know, I just thought.
Well, especially when it was later on in the game. It wasn't directly after where he went into the next tackle and up
70 minutes later.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a weird one. But I'm telling you now, listen, I think if Kane was up the other end and Konate ploughed into him like that, he'd get a stonewall penalty. I'd put my mortgage on it. 100%. Let's get into some of these hot topics. One of the ones we put out is, should the league take a circuit break? But I think there's pros and cons for it, as we've discussed already. And I think with the league announcing today that it's going to go ahead anyway, they're going to try and play the matches as best they can, at least through the festive period, and see who January pairs out. We've already just touched on refereeing there as well, which is one of the ones. I think refereeing in the Premier League is probably the worst refereeing in Europe, to be honest.
I think they did a particularly bad weekend at times, you know. But I heard a couple of the lads on Sky talk about it. Did we mention there was 8 penalties the weeks previous?
Yeah.
And I think there was maybe a call from the top down. We don't want football matches being, you know, decided on penalties in every game. Like it probably didn't look well, you know, although we might say they were all penalties and, you know, that type of thing. I think we agreed with most of them, but it's just...
This is our problem, isn't it, on the consistency though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like none of us want to sit here every weekend looking at 10 or 12 penalties. We don't.
Especially not when you have VAR.
Yeah, absolutely. But
it's there. if it's used properly, it can be so productive, you know. And we've seen stuff done well. Like, look at the Mahrez goal yesterday. City score a very good goal. Absolutely no issue with it. Lino calls it offside, and then it goes straight to VAR. Now he's onside. Goal given, job done. Keep moving.
It's like when you look at it in Spain and France and Italy, it's just operating differently, isn't it? It's just there's a very quick decision. If you have to go and review it, the referee is always in control. Just at the moment, if you look at the last 2 weekends, the referees look totally out of control.
Yeah, there's a certain dramatic element to it, you know, where I don't know if somebody said the longer we drag this out, the more exciting it's going to be and to play out like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's a few clueless decisions going on, isn't there? And I don't even think at times, you know, we've talked about VR and how it's supposed to work and stuff like that. VR is supposed to be a look back in real time, and the referees just keep being given these slow-mos. Now, anything you look at in slow-mo is gonna look worse than it does in real time. You know, because it's going to give you frame by frame by frame of that tackle, of that penalty incident, of, you know, the ref should walk over, it should run through once, it should change the angle, run through again, and it should change the angle a third time and run it through again, all at the same speed, which is the speed it happened at.
Yeah.
And allow them then, after 3 looks from 3 different angles, all at the same speed, go, I got it right or I got it wrong. Like, we're sitting at home, we can make a decision after seeing it once. That's a penalty. That's a red. That's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose us sitting at home, though, we're looking at it not so much in relation to VAR, but in relation to the referee who's on the pitch and in the height of it. It's a very different thing. But I suppose VAR has the luxury of every angle.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. 3 different angles, all played at the same real-time speed. If a ref can't make a decision after that, we're in trouble either way. Yeah,
absolutely. What did you make of Spurs today, crashing out of Europe with UEFA award and ran the win? And I suppose in thinking this, if we get fixture congestion down the line because of stoppages or whatever it is, should the Premier League be taking the same kind of stance?
I thought it was harsh enough, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I thought it was harsh enough, I have to be fair.
UEFA don't mess about, sure they don't.
Listen, another set of clueless twats, isn't it? UEFA.
Yeah, and you would think like they'd want Spurs to stay in the tournament.
Well, I mean, for the value of the tournament, surely you would. Or for the sponsors who are going, who do I want in here? Ren or Spurs? You know, it's a no-brainer, really. But, and it was probably something that Conte might have said, you know what, we can have a spin at this.
Yeah, we had already highlighted that could be one of the potential silverware that they could potentially pick up. You know what I mean? I wonder what the conversation was like. I wonder what Spurs' reaction to it was like when they were being asked about it, or was there a consultation period and Conte turned around and says, "Look, I just can't do this," or whatever it is. Or
yeah, I don't imagine there was any sort of consultation. I mean, UEFA are synonymous for sitting in their ivory towers and making decisions and just letting it be known, and that's that. And there's no comeback and stuff like that. I don't know if Spurs will take this line down, I have to be honest. I think I'd like to see them challenge UEFA on this.
Maybe appeal it.
Maybe go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, something like that. You know, like, what do you want them to do? Like, you know, like where's the common sense approach there? They've done something in the health and safety for everyone. You know.
Yeah.
Surely that's more important than the competition.
Yeah,
you know?
it seemed to be tiptoeing along, didn't it? And then suddenly it was finalised. I wonder, is there a guideline in there that UEFA have to say, well, if this game passes X amount of days, the guideline states you have to award it to the other team or something like that. I wonder, have they got some sort of a guideline? And then I just wonder, were Spurs aware of it?
You'd have to think they would have been if there was something, but, you know, it is Spurs, don't forget. Stranger things and all that.
Yeah.
You know?
moving on, Manchester United footballer Aaron Wan-Bissaka picked up a 6-month driving ban today, I think it was, and fined over 30,000 for driving while disqualified and failing to provide driver details for 2 speeding offences. Now that this is kind of sorted, do you reckon this might have been hanging over him and it might have been something to do with his form? Because I know his form has been indifferent the last couple of months.
I don't think it had anything to do with his positional sense, did it?
No, but I mean in terms of, there was talk that this could have ended up in a sentence.
Right.
As you can tell by the magnitude of the fine, like 30,000 is a lot to be fined for a driving offence.
You can tell by the magnitude of my attitude. He should have been fucking a little more clever, shouldn't he? You know? Like, it's not like he couldn't afford a taxi. Let's be honest here. You know, this is a guy who thinks...
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning what's happened.
Neither am I.
You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, if you have a court case like that hanging over you, mentally can it affect what you're trying to do on the pitch?
I think it can, but at times being on the pitch can be an escape from things like that. You know? And sometimes you can throw yourself into something like football, and it can really give you the mental space that you need when you're going through something like this. I think they were a little bit lenient on him, if I'm honest. You know, 30 grand. What's 30 grand to Aaron Wan-Bissaka? How much on United?
Yeah, I thought the 6-month ban was very lenient.
I mean, he's got to get a minimum 12-month ban, and I'd want to know what the limitations were on a fine. Like, I mean, was there an upper limit that they reached? Is 30,000 the maximum that they can do for that court? You know, sometimes there's limits to what they can do. But I mean, 30 grand, it's a drop in the ocean to this guy. You know, he's one of our players, so if anyone wants to defend him, I do. But you can't defend the indefensible. I mean, this is a guy thinking he's above the law. You know, and we don't like that in people, be it footballers, be it MMA fighters, you know, be it anybody. You're not above the law. The law's there for a reason, and it's to keep some sort of fucking peace and harmony around the place. And guys who just go off on their own tangents and things they can do as they want, that's not how life goes, lads. You know?
Yeah, no, sure. Just wanted to get your thoughts on it. The other one that came up this weekend, Jack Grealish dropped from the Newcastle game. Pep coming out stating that it was due to behaviour issues. What did you make of that? Because there wasn't much more detail on it. Now, this was either a guy who went out enjoying himself, maybe at a Christmas party, and flunked COVID guidelines. We don't know.
Well,
but certainly he didn't do what he was told.
It's Jack Grealish here.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't too long ago we saw him crashing the Range Rover with a few gargles on him, and he dumped it there and he told a story that somebody stole the keys from the party and all this. Listen, he's an absolute spoofer, the young fella. A spoofer. You know, look at what he did at Ireland, and then my English up again all of a sudden, you know. But like, he's got that kind of wild side off the pitch, doesn't he?
A little bit, yeah.
He's a little bit throwback at times.
Yeah, I was interested to hear Pep stating that he keeps an eye on these things.
And he's absolutely right. You know, I think I've certainly heard stories of when Ferguson was in charge of United, and he had his spies around the city, you know, and the night before games or the Friday night before a Sunday game even, and he'd get a call off somebody and he'd say, 2 of the boys are in such and such a club, or there's 2 of them here, or 2, and he'd send boys down, he'd say, get them out of there, or do this, you know what I mean? And it's your club, you've got to control it as a manager, don't you? And if there's any lack of respect or any lack of discipline there, if you don't strike down it straight away, these guys are going to think they can walk all over you.
I just can't imagine what it's like to be on 200 grand a week and not to be able to let off some steam. Well, somehow, you know.
There's other ways you can let off steam. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't need to, like, there's a couple of different scenarios here. We've obviously got the issues with his personal life at the minute, you know, his girlfriend, and he was obviously seeing Emily Atack and stuff like that as well by the looks of it. And then there was talk of this dominatrix last week as well after the game against Leeds, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe Jack was up to no good after the game and got found out by the gaffer or something like that. And, you know,
maybe Pep's feeling left out, is he?
He might be just an absolute horn dog, poor Jack. Like, you know what I mean? He just can't get enough at this stage, poor fella. Like, And I mean, you can't blame a bloke for that, but he's going to have to take the hit under Pep, isn't
he? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But I like the way they did it due to behavior issues. Interesting, you know. I wanted to bring up Aubameyang again this week. I know we hit it out of the park last week with what we said, and the week before when we raised it, all hell broke loose. What do you make of this Arteta Aubameyang kind of little power war that's going on at the moment? There's only going to be one winner, isn't there?
Absolutely, there is. Yeah. Hopefully, we see the back of him in January. You know, I think Arsenal do absolutely everything in their power to get him out of the club. I think they'll go as far as to pay his wages and loan him elsewhere. I think they'd be more than happy to pay the big bucks to have him score goals at Barcelona or somewhere like that or wherever, just so he's not that negative influence around the club and around the team and stuff like that. You know, we spoke about it, and they've got such a great, you know, such great prospects at Arsenal at the minute, don't they? Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Saka, Tierney, Ben White, Ramsdale. Like, there's a lot of good young footballers there. You don't want a guy like this, you know, showing them the wrong way to do things.
Yeah, and the problem with Arsenal at the moment, although they're getting results and they're playing well and stuff like that, because there's so much youth in there and so little experience kind of directing it, they're kind of a little bit fragile. When it's going really, really well, it goes really, really well. But when it goes bad, it's really bad. And that's where you need those experienced guys in there. Not that Aubameyang has played that role in any way, shape or form.
Or our friend Granit Xhaka, who should have also seen red at the weekend.
True. But yeah, it's just an interesting one. I don't know. I wonder, has he played his last game for Arsenal? Seems to be, doesn't it, between training ground and...
Yeah, I'd be shocked, I have to say, if we seen him again for Arsenal. I really, really would. Now, I know, like, guys have come back from worse, but I don't know. He seems like he's really, really dirtied his bib with Mikel Arteta, you know. Again, something I'd love to know. What went down? Where are we going with this? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously he's causing serious issues there at Arsenal, and it just with the way Arsenal are going at the minute, you know, they're putting themselves in with a chance of a top 4 spot. It's got to be worth his wages alone to keep yourself in that fight. You know what I mean? And not
you can't bring him back in and disable that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Again, I don't know whether there's a swap deal on the cards. Could you get somebody in for him? Could you say, listen, we'll give you Aubameyang to the end of the season. You give us Timo Werner.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mentioned it to Ian the other day as well, that Tuchel had been having conversations, he'd been chatting to him. And I don't think those conversations tend to be just about your well-being, let's say.
I wouldn't think so, especially with, you know, how blunt Chelsea have been recently up front. I think this is something Tuchel would really, really love. You know, if he could get the likes of Aubameyang in there next to Lukaku and get the best out of both of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They could certainly put Chelsea in a good position for a tilt at the title, and maybe you could see Timo go across London and go in with a team that kind of fits his style a little more, you know, a little more energetic, a little bit quicker, faster paced and stuff like that, and play to his strengths, you know.
It'd be a very interesting swap, wouldn't it? Very interesting. I'd be very
not like it hasn't happened before.
No, but it's normally the other way, and it's normally Chelsea that do the better out of it. But we will wait and see.
Absolutely.
Wanted to ask you about the AFCON. You reckon should it go ahead or not go ahead?
No chance in hell it should go ahead, but I think it will, unfortunately. You know, I think.
How's that going to work for January? I mean, we had a look at it the other day when we did our preview of the AFCON. And you're looking at teams like ourselves, and I think what was the other one? It was Villa who got here hard and Norwich.
No, Watford or one of them.
Watford was one of them, yeah. Like, how do Watford? I think Watford had 6 or 7 players when we looked.
Well, they certainly had 5 from what I can remember from the conversation.
How's that going to work at the moment with everything else that's going on?
Yeah, listen, it's ludicrous to even think of holding that competition right now, isn't it? I mean, Africa as a continent is so far behind in this, isn't it?
We're 2 weeks, 25% vaccination.
Yeah, and you're sending, some of English football's prized assets over there. I'd say there's a lot of clubs are going to be having a little word in the ear of players over the next couple of weeks to say,
we're only just over 2 weeks out from the start of it.
Yeah, well, this could be a Villa Burnley. This could be a 2-3 days before the plug gets pulled on this, God,
imagine.
I really, really, it's so reckless to hold this tournament on that continent right now with everything that's going on in the world. Surely they can use, the platform differently, and, maybe the Premier League can do something, maybe the Spanish League, maybe the Italian League can do something, and they say, what we'll do is, rather than send our players for this competition, we donate a certain amount of our funds, which will go towards vaccinating numbers in countries and stuff like that. I'm sure there's got to be a way around this.
I think the problem is I don't know. I just think, as we spoke during the preview for it, I think you've such a passionate continent, so colourful, such a celebration of football and stuff like that. And I know you're taking into account everything that's going on worldwide from a health point of view and stuff like that as well. But I mean, I don't know. I find it beggars belief. Like, you look at Liverpool. Like, Liverpool yesterday in the Spurs game were missing 8 first-team players. Now imagine if Keita, Salah, and Mane are gone as well. That's 11. You can't lose 11 first-team players.
That makes life. Well, you see, here's the thing: the 3 boys aren't going to be looked at as being missed for COVID. They're going to be missed for an international competition, so it'll be a discrepancy there, which is wrong. Also, by the way, I'm not condoning that, but
they're going to have to factor it in somehow, aren't
they? You should listen,
I mean, as good as we think Klopp is, surely to God he can't field a team that doesn't have Van Dijk, Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Keita.
No, well, you'll have the boys back at that stage. They'd be post-COVID at that stage.
Well, we assume, but we don't know what's going to happen, do we? I mean, we don't know who else is going to go in the meantime. They might come back, and then we lose Alisson, Trent, Robbo, Konate, Matip. You know what I mean? This is revolving. This is a saloon door, really, isn't it?
I think Lewis and Trent could be a plus, couldn't it?
I don't know about that.
I like right backs that can defend.
He was very unlucky with that half volley yesterday. I was about to text you.
What about how many times he was caught out of position and Spurs were really, they should have nailed just.
He's a midfielder. You said it's not his job.
He literally plays like
we just need to make up our mind what we want him to do.
Every time they played that long diagonal ball, raking ball over between the right back and the right centre back, and you're thinking, where's the right back gone? Yeah. And he was 20, 30 yards ahead of play, and you're like,
I think it's the fact that it was Dele Alli as well, magnified it a little bit, didn't it?
Why?
Because 9 times out of 10 he's pony. He was made look very good yesterday, wasn't he? In fairness,
I thought he had a decent game back.
Yeah, but he did a decent game because he had a quarter of a pitch all to himself. This is what I mean.
Jesus, that's I was just I was watching it and I was going, oh my God, where is this kid? And then you see the yellow boots.
He's up the other end trying to score.
You see the boots down the other end. You're like, Jesus Christ, man, where are you?
Having said that, though, I mean, if you even enjoyed it yesterday as a neutral, the pace from back to front yesterday, both ways, was just amazing.
I have to say, I think tactically, Conte will have given a lot of managers,
food for thought.
Certainly playing Liverpool.
Yeah.
He got his turn at every opportunity, went very, very direct.
Do you know something? At times he didn't. I looked at it yesterday and I was thinking, he timed it perfectly when to go and when not to go. And he knew when to go, because they didn't go all the time. But when they did go, they had timed it perfectly. But I thought he was also at times they were very patient in their play as well.
And he's playing such a high line.
Yeah.
You know, you're making life very tough for poor Allison there behind, having to be sweeper keeper all the time. And then he has this Fabian Barthez moment where he comes out to slide and then he goes, oh no. I was like, did that just happen?
I was trying to figure out why he slid that way with the legs and why he wasn't going that way with the hands and the body and the legs were the other way. Which I would have thought would have been goalkeeping 101, but who am I to talk about Alison Becker and how to teach him or train him in terms of goalkeeping?
Yeah.
But yeah, if it was me, where if you're going in for that, you're going in hands and body, aren't you? And your legs are the other way, no?
No.
Oh no, I'm going in hands and body.
That's why you didn't play goal.
No. Plenty of clean sheets there.
You're not going in with your hands and your body like that because your momentum again, if you do get to the ball, can take you out of the box.
Yeah, but then you just hand your hands off and your man's already gone. Too
difficult to time. You know, because you hold on to it for a second longer. Not only are you red, but you know what I mean.
I always had it perfect.
You're taking that ball with your feet. You know,
he's still plenty of room inside the box, though. He wasn't that close to the edge.
He's close enough.
Me and you would handle that no problem, huh?
He was just so unlucky. You were like, oh no. He'd made a couple of great saves up until that point. If
you had seen my face when I seen the ball go by his legs, I was just I was going, how did the ball get there?
And then for a second, everything just moved in slow motion because
bar the Spurs player.
The Son looked and he was
couldn't believe it.
But he was also like, I'm gonna compose myself here. I don't want to bleeding shin this wider at, you know.
Whatever his version of Little Christmas is, it happened yesterday during that moment.
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, pleasure having you on for the mashup as always. Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for the videos, Spotify for audio versions of the show. This has been your Monday mashup. Let us know your comments down below in the episode. Drop a like and a share as always. Hit that bell notification if you want to get the latest notifications when we drop content. And we will be back again during the week, no doubt. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, brother.